And good afternoon to all of you. After a little upbeat music, sets well the scene for what I hope will be an exciting discussion. I am joined by four panelists. I will introduce them a bit later. The topic for our discussion here today is really how we can combine forces to have bigger impact in the area of research and innovation following our global approach. I think COVID-19 has really put the spotlight, works like an accelerator and a magnifying glass, and has put the spotlight on some of the global challenges, and I think it's very clear that we can only rise up to deal with those challenges if indeed we have a solid mobilization of research and innovation. I was actually invited to be the moderator here for a particular reason, which is that in the area I am normally dealing with, development cooperation, we have piloted last year as a reaction to COVID-19 what we call the Team Europe approach, and it has become very trendy these days to apply Team Europe. The idea behind Team Europe was really to say that if the EU, with its means, with its policy know-how, with its funding, and our EU member states, with their know-how, with their funding, and our partner countries can really function as a team, that ultimately we will get a much bigger impact, we will get a much better return on investment. And I think it's probably timely to compare it to a football team. We're probably all, or many of us are following the European Championships. The wonders of a team play like football is that of course you need individual talent, but the real winning teams are the ones that can make that individual talent really play as a team, and that's a bit the magic behind Team Europe. Of course, there are a number of things, a number of requirements that need to be done. Obviously, first of all, you need to focus, you need to choose which are exactly the areas on which you want to mobilize collectively. There is, of course, an angle linked to how you cooperate, how the package that you bring is not just one that is focused on one element, funding or know-how, but really to build a comprehensive package with the different partners of the team. And thirdly, and importantly, there's of course also a visibility aspect to it, a branding aspect to it, that precisely allows Team Europe not just to be bigger than the sum of its parts, but also to show ourselves as a partner of reference for partners across the globe. We've been piloting this in the area of international partnerships on a number of areas already. We're not starting from scratch, and it's very clear in the discussions we have with our member states, with the development finance institutions, that as we say in Belgium, la mayonnaise prend. There is an appetite to do this and to make this work. And we see a similar thing in engagement with our partners. They're actually very keen to engage with a stronger, more coordinated, more impactful Team Europe. What I would like to discuss with us and with the panelists today is indeed how we can apply that same recipe, that same approach also to the area of research and innovation. I think it should be a no-brainer. I think in research and innovation, by definition, co-creation, collaboration, the openness of how you combine ideas, how you can set in motion kind of an intellectual chain reaction, either by impact or by fusion, is part and parcel of how research and innovation works. And I think that discussing a bit between ourselves with all of you who participate on how we can apply Team Europe also in the area of the global approach to research and innovation would be extremely stimulating. I hope you agree. Before introducing the panelists, just a couple of housekeeping rules. I have them scripted so that I don't miss the point. So for the audience who's listening in, we invite you to write your questions for the panel discussions via the Slido tool. You can connect via the Slido app by scanning the QR code via the browser with the event code, which is hashtag RIDACE, so that you can see on the screen. And we will pick up questions after the first round of discussions with the panel. We will not use the chat function of the session, so it's really through Slido. Please do not forget to include your first name, your last name and the organization when you are using the interactive tool. And you can also mention, if you want, more specifically to whom you are addressing your question. Now, without further ado, I would like to present the panelists and invite them to make their opening remarks. Now we'll start with His Excellency Nasser Kamel, who is the Secretary General of the Union for the Mediterranean. He's a career diplomat in the Egyptian government, took part in negotiations that launched the Union for the Mediterranean, and in the next 5 minutes he will give us his views on collaboration between the European Commission and the organization he leads. Your Excellency, Mr. Kamel, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much for moderating this session, and in your capacity as a leading colleague from the European Commission, and for all what the European Commission is doing in order to extend its cooperation in terms of research and innovation to the southern Mediterranean region. Actually, I will concentrate the few minutes I'll spend talking about the subject matter on the idea that as much as we need Team Europe, we need also Team Mediterranean for so many reasons, which are very obvious indeed. The challenges Europe is facing are interlinked to the challenges of the wider region. And by the wider region, I mean the southern Mediterranean and also the eastern neighborhood. And that's exactly what we're doing in the UFM with the help of our colleague. I mean, I work personally very closely with Maria Christine Russo of DG RTD in order to define the new agenda for research and innovation in the southern Mediterranean region. And actually, work has been advancing quite impressively, I must say. We have defined our priority, which are obvious: health, climate change, and renewable energies. And in that sense, when you look at those three priorities, they are paramount to the well-being of the wider region. Well, health is a non-brainer, to be very honest, in terms of the challenge we faced last year, but not only that, but also the lack of the fact that we don't have the same degree in terms of health care and health protection and research in that field in the southern Mediterranean region compared, of course, to the EU. Climate change is also an obvious priority when we know that our region is warming 20% faster than the rest of the world, that 10 out of 20 cities in the world who will be most affected by climate change are Mediterranean cities. When we see that biodiversity in our common sea is being threatened, when we see the problem of plastic in the region, all of that should lead us to find innovative ways of dealing with a science-led approach in terms of handling those challenges. And of course, renewable in a region that is very rich in resources in that matter. When we talk about solar energy, studies shows that the southern Mediterranean region and also southern European countries have the resources to actually provide the whole wider region with all its energy needs just solely based on this source of energy, not to mention, of course, wind and, of course, this new promising technology in terms of green hydrogen and its possible rollout in the wider region. But for this source of energy to be developed efficiently, we still need renewable energy to produce. So between the Commission or the EU and the Southern Mediterranean country through the UFM, there is an ambitious approach in terms of adapting our priority, in terms of those priorities serving the wider good in terms of our citizens, both on both shores of the Mediterranean. And in that sense, it reflects a good sense of where Europe interest lies and of where the Southern Mediterranean and in which area the Southern Mediterranean should focus when it comes to research and innovation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kamel. Thank you, Secretary General. And I think indeed the point you made is a fundamental one and fully in line, as you know, with the EU's global approach, which is that for the real impact to be created, Team Europe indeed teams up with its partners. And I like the reference you made to Team Mediterranean. I think it's through those kind of partnerships in co-creation that probably the best solutions are brought up. Let me now pass the floor to the second panelist, Toma Bo, who is the Director General of the Slovenian Ministry of Education, Science and Sport. I mean, Slovenia, as you probably all know, will take up the presidency of the Council of the EU in a few days. You're in for a nice ride, Director General. And the Director General will give us an overview of the presidency's upcoming priorities, and then especially, of course, as regards research and innovation. Floor is yours.
Thank you very much, dear moderator, dear colleagues and dear participants. As already said, yes, there are only a few days left to start our presidency. And in this respect, actually, I would really like to thank you all to actually give us opportunity to present our views, our plans, especially in the field of international cooperation. And actually, in this respect, I would like to thank the European Commission actually to publish the document, the communication on the global approach to research and innovation. And this will be, of course, also one of the important inputs and for our presidency and for our work in the next half a year. And actually, I would like to focus a bit on this process. First of all, I would also like to say that the draft Council conclusions actually are the first document which is produced by our incoming presidency. Of course, it is a draft version. And in this time, I would like to thank the colleagues from the trio, Germany and Portugal, and also European Commission for all the comments at the moment, and of course also would like to thank the France as a next presidency, which will have this international collaboration as one of their important presidencies. I would like to now focus on the process which will follow in the next months. As I already said, the draft document is the first one produced by our colleagues in Slovenia, and will start, the debate about it will start at the very first day of our presidency. So it means in the Working Party for Research, it will be introduced in the 1st of July. So it means in a few weeks, in a few days' time. And because of that, while we start the process, also the research and innovation days are one of the very, very important elements for input of different stakeholders, which will be of great value for us when preparing the last version of the Council conclusions. We expect to have informal, the policies debate about the document in the informal compact meeting of ministers in the 19th of July. And after that, actually, we will start with the final preparation and hope actually to finalize the document in the September Council conclusions. It's important to say that during this process, we'll also include EFTA countries and Western Balkan countries, while we believe that the dialogue between different stakeholders, between different countries, is of crucial importance. importance. And actually, I would like to say that our motto, I would say in this respect, is that actually we should be, as a European space, as open as possible and as closed as necessary. And actually, in this respect, we believe that there are three main issues which will also be addressed in our Council conclusions. First of all, of course, we are addressing and endorsing the key elements which are already put on the table by the Commission communication. The second, and I would say the most important thing, is the questions of principles and key values. While we believe that the values are something which are the novelty in this communication, and actually which is the driving force for the future development of our international collaboration. We'll have to focus and follow the legacy of Bonn Declaration on academic freedom. And what is also a very important balance between the reciprocal openness and the respect of EU interest and values. So it means that it's in line with our motto, as I said. We have to respect the interest and especially values when deciding about the international collaboration. And in this respect, we believe that we should treat different things, different types of collaboration differently. So we should introduce as much flexibility as possible. And actually, the next and most important, the next important thing is implementation. We believe that the implementation in the international collaboration is not possible without collaboration between European Commission, member states, and stakeholders. And because of that, we believe that it is so important to have debates like today's one. And actually, through these debates, we'll also show that we should go beyond the twin transition and focus or maybe have the SDGs as the value framework for our work. And just maybe for the end, why is the European Union so attractive for researchers from abroad and home ones? Because of the academic freedom and because of the autonomy of research institutions. On the other side, also direct link between the research and human well-being. And we believe that during our presidency, we'll be able to contribute significantly to implementation of these goals. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Director General. And I think in your expose, you've nicely laid down the important months that will follow under your presidency, when indeed the policy document that the Commission has tabled will then take the shape of Council conclusions. And I think in the elements you brought forward, you already mentioned a number of issues: reciprocal openness, the link with EU interests and values, and so on, that will no doubt give rise to an inspiring discussion amongst member states. Now, I can move to the third panelist, and I'm very pleased to introduce Ulrich Schuh, who is the chair of the Eureka Network, Pan-European Initiative on Innovation, which hosts the public-to-public partnership under Horizon 2020 Eurostars. And you will provide us with some insights on Eureka and its expansion beyond Europe. Over to you.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to present Eureka and also the Austrian chairmanship, which will end in a few days at this event. During Austrian chairmanship, Eureka celebrated its 35 years anniversary, and at the same time, Eureka has reinvented itself. New programs will be launched, the global outreach will be extended, and new forms of cooperation will be introduced. Starting from a Western European initiative launched in 1985, Eureka has now become a truly global organization. Eureka currently has 48 member states, plus the European Commission as member number 49. And I'm very proud to announce that Singapore has joined the Eureka network only a few days ago during the Austrian chairmanship. After 35 years, the underlying principle of Eureka is more relevant than ever. We need global cooperation in innovation to master challenges of today, like COVID pandemic and climate change, to mention the most prominent ones. And Eureka offers the unique opportunity to allow for international cooperation in innovation for small and medium-sized enterprises. The entry barriers for participation are extremely low. We use existing infrastructure at the respective national level. There is only a minimum of 2 companies coming from 2 different countries to start a project. In principle, no longer-term budget commitment is needed, and it offers the possibility to cooperate with all 47 member states, but also beyond that with all countries worldwide in principle. Members and stakeholders of the Eureka network benefit from some unique characteristics of organizing their cooperation. It's first decentral management, its variable geometry, and its bottom-up. First, as a rule, Eureka uses national funding agencies and national rules for implementing the cooperative innovation projects we fund. It thus uses and provides access to an existing well-functioning infrastructure for supporting innovation on a global level. This allows us to use synergies with existing national funding programs, and this usually implies that only marginal costs for implementation arise. Second, variable geometry. As a rule, cooperation within Eureka requires the cooperation of a minimum of 2 different companies coming from 2 different member states. The critical mass to start a new initiative is extremely low. This results in an enormous degree of flexibility and also results in the ability to easily experiment, test, and establish new programs and instruments. A bright example in this respect is the Innovite program, which has been implemented by a subset of Eureka members and the Eureka Secretariat on behalf of the European Commission. It turned out to be a success model, and it will be continued under Horizon Europe. Then, finally, we have our bottom-up principle. As a rule, Eureka programs and instruments support innovative projects in all thematic fields as long as they address non-military purpose. This allows Eureka to react fast and flexible to new developments and challenges. By organizing recently thematic calls, Eureka has shown its ability to contribute to the solution of the main societal and economic challenges we face. Already at the beginning of 2020, Eureka organized a call within the network on projects dealing with the COVID-19 pandemics. Thematic calls are a very effective way to present the activities of Eureka to stakeholders and to make our work better visible to the public without threatening our bottom-up principle. That's why we invite public authorities, industry, and especially SMEs to use the potential of new Eureka Austria has introduced during the chairmanship as a platform for international cooperation to the mutual benefit of all partners involved and finally global societies. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much. And I was struck by the fact that the name Eureka is used for what is very international. I mean, it shows that the time when you could sit in your bath and suddenly have an aha erlebnis and find a solution to research and innovation problems is long gone, dates from the ancient Greeks, and how now fundamentally international cooperation, co-creation, bringing different ideas and intelligence together is the only real way forward. So the name Eureka is covering a totally different load than it used to at its origins. I'm now really glad to be able to welcome Professor Maria Chiara Carrozza in this rather gender unbalanced panel. So very happy to have you here. You are a physicist, an engineer, and a politician. And since March 2021, you're also the president of the Council on National Research of Italy. And you will provide us with some political insights into research and innovation. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. So I will try to do my best to balance the session and also to speak from my perspective of researcher and president of the National Research Council, which is the largest institution performing public research in Italy. So first of all, I would like to say that research is going on thanks to partnerships. So partnerships are fundamental in order to progress in all areas. So I think that the European Union agenda has shown to the member states a clear way to be followed by concentrating the effort on priorities and also to concentrate the effort and to support collaborative research in order to address some of the most important problems and research issues at the moment: digitalization, Green Deal, and sustainable growth, for example. So we have to work together and also to base our effort on European research area, but also to get out from Europe and to support collaboration and international partnership in order to address those issues. So we cannot save the world alone. We have to cooperate. And after the effect of COVID-19, we know that inequalities grow so much, and we have to address inequalities and to work and to use the instruments and the tools and the programs that we have in order to address this inequality issue. So I don't know what is happening.
You're still with us and we're hearing you well.
Okay, I continue. So I think we have to work together and to address these big areas like digitalization, Green Deal, and sustainable growth. But we have also to introduce our values, the European Union values like sustainability, ethics, equality, and integrity. So this is what is the rationale for our effort for working together. And also we know that if we want to save the world from pandemic issues and from climate change, we have to support research programs in order to invent tools and systems in order to face those challenges, and to invent that by supporting also partnership with all countries, not only European member states. And so I'm working very much on artificial intelligence and pandemic preparedness, and I think these are issues to be considered for our international partnership. I like very much this idea of Team Europe, because Team Europe means some different integrated policies in order to address those issues with different instruments. One of the most interesting instruments is partnership, which in Europe has different meanings. I am chair of the expert group on research and innovation partnership, so I know very well what are the different meanings of partnership. Our effort is to give some content to the different meanings, and international partnership is something that we can export from our experience in research and innovation partnership in order to address big issues and the challenges that we have. And there are different instruments, co-founded, co-programmed, and institutionalized. With some issues, we can start from institutionalized partnership and work together in order to address some of the most important problems that are facing now the different countries in the world. And so for this reason, I like very much this session. I give value to cooperation. My entire career which is a very interdisciplinary career, is based on European Union funded projects, because I was involved in research projects since the very beginning of the European program. And thanks to the collaborative effort, I had exchanges. I have foreigners and students from different countries, students from out of our Europe. I had many important funding, which was based on freedom, on research freedom, on social innovation in the long run, on some of our values. So I think that we can work on this result and expand this concept of collaboration and collaborative effort, which is typical of the European Union, and try to do something meaningful in collaboration with other countries out of Europe. Thank you very much for your attention.
Well, thank you very much for this contribution. And indeed, I take away certainly what you said in the beginning, and which adds to what the previous speaker said, that apart from the collaborative approach, it's also very important to concentrate on priorities. And you've mentioned some of them: Green Deal, digital, the whole inclusiveness of a growth agenda, and health, obviously. And I think by doing so, by choosing the right priorities, probably the link with European values and interests is more naturally, more easily made. And that's also where then Team Europe indeed comes into play, because like in any team sport, the nicety about the Team Europe approach is that you combine, let's say, the flexibility of individual freedom with the coherence of the need to play it collectively. So now we have some time left, and that's good, to go to the questions that have been shot at you through Slido. And I will maybe start with the first one, the one that got most likes. And it reads as follows: is it time to move from a competitive funding model to one where we identify a key strategic area and find and support an EU group of experts to work together? So competition or more top-down steer? Which one of you would like to take that question? Absolutely, I thought so. Mr. Bo.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question, which I believe is in a core of the debates about the different approach to research. Of course, we are looking in Europe for excellent research. So it means that there is no place for a research which is not of the highest quality possible. But at the same time, we believe that actually we should also focus on priorities. And I would say that the approach, which is similar to the approach which was chosen for fighting the COVID-19, it's probably the right one. So the combination and actually the equilibrium between the excellent research, so it has to be a quite tough assessment, but at the same time to put resources together, not only by the instruments of financing, but also, I would say, by putting together results, by open science, by sharing research infrastructure, and so. So I believe that there is no white or black or white answer, but it should be the somehow equilibrium between these two. And still, we should base on top excellent science. This is the precondition for all the next steps.
Thank you very much. Any other panelists who want to comment on this one? Or do you all agree with that approach? I don't see any requests to the floor. That allows us to move to the next question. Team Europe seems to be a source of inspiration. Team Europe approach requires all member states to agree, to align efforts. Is this likely to happen?
I can answer.
Go ahead.
So I think that I strongly support the idea that all member states must agree to align efforts, but we have to start. So we will never start if we wait that all are perfectly aligned. So we have also to give some example and to start to do something. I strongly believe in this idea of Team Europe, but and I think it could be also a brand based on our values and on our history. So I think we have to build that. It's something which is living and evolving. If we find some meaning, if we find some rationale, we will work to address that, and then we will be successful.
Thank you. Any further comments on that one? If none, I mean, yes, please go ahead, Mr. Schuh.
So thank you. I would like to confirm what Maria said. I think from the experience of Eureka, we have seen that it's the best way that we allow a model which gives some member states the opportunity to go ahead, to experiment, to make an example, so that then the others will follow soon. And I think this is, very pragmatic, but also an approach which seems very useful in order to go ahead and not to lose too much time in trying to have everybody always at the beginning on board.
Thank you very much. And if I can, add a testimony from my area of work. In the approach to Team Europe initiatives in international partnerships for development cooperation, this is very much how it works. We identify a priority, and then we mobilize Team Europe, made up of the EU plus those member states that are willing to be part of it. It's an option. It's not an obligation, and that creates again the flexibility of doing things with those who have an interest, who want to bring expertise funding to the table, and that seems to be the best way to go about it. Next question. Monitoring, research and innovation and impact are important. So how can we factor in the international cooperation into such system of monitoring and evaluating? So the international dimension into the monitoring and evaluating system. Maybe there, if I don't see volunteers, maybe His Excellency Nasser Kamel may want to intervene on that one.
Thank you very much. Although I'm no expert when it comes to monitoring of R&D and innovation. But let me go back to the first question on the coal and the competitiveness, and then maybe comment on this question. It's very important when you work with your international partner, and in that sense, I would say your regional partner, to keep in mind that we need to have a certain, what you call co-creation of solution, by having teams from both shores of the Mediterranean, and maybe calls that involve more than one country working closely together in order to achieve a certain transfer of knowledge and transfer of know-how when it comes to scientific, to research and innovation. On the monitoring, definitely, because if our priority are closely linked to our sustainable development goals, and if they are focused on area like in the cooperation with the Southern Mediterranean, which is climate change, health, and renewable, we need over time to see if those research had an impact in terms of their value, scientifically speaking, and their applicability to the real life and to improve the well-being of our citizens and deal with some of the challenges that we are facing on both sides or both shores of the Mediterranean. I hope I answered within my very limited knowledge of the subject matter.
I wouldn't possibly be able to add anything to what you've just said. Any of the other panelists want to add?
I can add something because
yes, please, go ahead.
Yes. I am chair of the expert group on how to monitor and evaluate partnership in research and innovation. So I think that the Horizon Europe is making a lot of effort in order to develop monitoring tools, and this is part of our job to provide some methodologies. I think we have to work together because evaluating the impact and is fundamental in order to be to account to be open to citizens, to everybody on how we spend money for research and for innovation and for developing partnerships. So I think it's part of our task to study and develop appropriate methodologies in order to assess the impact of the measures that we have done. So the basic of the elaboration of policies is to also identify key performance indicators and monitoring methodologies.
Thank you. Yes, Director General.
Yeah, thank you very much. I would like to add a small thing. Actually, we could also, or we should also rely on the principles or developing principles of open science and new metrics which are coming out from open science principles. So we believe that the intense international collaboration and the new ways of collaboration are something new. And actually, it is not easy to measure new things with all measuring methods. So we strongly believe that also open science and its impacts and its metrics are the right answer to evaluate and monitor the international collaboration in this respect.
Thank you very much. We still have a bit more than 3 minutes left, so I guess we still have time for one question. And it's a rather binary one, as many times when it's binary, it's probably a bit exaggerated. But the question is how to reach balance between national interests and EU interests. And we might actually add a dimension, international interests. Is it so clear-cut? Is there such an opposition, or is it too stark a question? Over to you. Yes, absolutely. Secretary General, Kamel.
Not qualified, but my question, I will answer the question by asking a question myself. Is there conflict between national and regional and European and regional priority when it comes to research and innovation, especially if the focus area are very closely related to challenges, needs, and our priority in terms of inclusive economic development, in terms of dealing with health challenge, in terms of dealing with the impact of climate change, in terms of advancing even our economic growth. I'm not sure, but maybe I'm not qualified, and there is maybe specific priority, but those specific priority could be actually accommodated within the larger framework of a EU, meaning Team Europe cooperation, or EU regional and international cooperation.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. Any other thoughts on this final question? Absolutely, go ahead, Mr. Schuh.
Yes, so I would like to confirm what the ambassador said. I think especially the most recent experiences should have shown that the national interests in innovation are always the same as the global ones. So we have strong external effects from innovation. So innovation is always to the benefit of all. Even so, an individual has a good idea. And I think we have to promote simply the facts that here cooperation is always superior to staying alone. And I think this is something which, especially in the COVID pandemic, became absolutely clear that we are all trying to solve our global problems together, and we should do it together.
Thank you very much. And that is a perfect summary, actually, of the panel discussion we've just had, which allows me to conclude very nicely. I will obviously not try to sum it up, and I think that you've just captured the essence of it. Very good to hear such a strong convergence of views on a number of principles which I think are indeed captured in the Commission's policy document on the global approach. The importance of reciprocal openness, the importance of free exchange of ideas, the importance of co-creation of solutions, and therefore the need to work as a team, be it within Europe as Team Europe and with partners as Team Med, and no doubt with plenty of other partners across the globe. So I really want to thank you, all four of you, for your excellent presentation, and of course the wide audience for your interest and the questions you've asked. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.